to episode 174 in the podcast Is My Blurred Opinion. I never get to say the name enough, I guess. I don't know. I just never thought to ever think about it, but because you're looking down, you clicked on this, so you should know what you're clicking on. But for those who just clicked a random link, this is My Blurred Opinion, and I am TJ. And we're just going to get into another guest, another interview, and I hope you stay with us. Thank you, guys. Alright guys, we are here again. This is actually the second podcast I've done of the day. I don't know why I feel like I have to tell you that, but I always like to break the fourth wall. Recently I reached out to, I'm in a Facebook group. I'm in many Facebook groups. I don't even know how many at this point. I know it's probably over 100, but I saw they were posting some things and it had me in their little like Facebook group chat, and I was like, all right, it's good. I needed some guests at the time, posted it, and actually got a decent amount of people that reached out. I think a couple I've already done previously. And our next guest, she reached out and we started talking the last few days, and she's very sweet, and we're making a real friendship, and it's always key. But, got to hear a lot of her story. There's some tragic things, but she's a very powerful, sweet person, and she's, done a lot in her life. So I wanted to have her on the show. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself?
Oh, thank you, TJ. That's such a sweet introduction. Made me a little emotional there. My name is Ida Sandver. I am a semi-retired nonprofit consultant who has a form of Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, diagnosed in my 30s. I am now in my 50s. And for those of you probably don't know what it is, it's a form of neuromuscular disease that is progressive over time. So you lose abilities like, walking, use of your arms with strength. Primarily, some people have major deformities in their hands and feet and wear leg braces. It's about, 200 to 200 genes that can cause it, and not all of them are known. So I'm in that sort of unknown category. Survived mild COVID twice, which also, for whatever reason, doctors don't know, accelerated my weakness. So I'm really working hard to try to get it back, and it's been pretty much a year of, trying to get my strength back to where it was pre-infection.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me.
That's you. Yeah. Like I said, we talked for a while, and when you start to talk to somebody, you don't really know what, you can hear some things about them, and they start to talk, and at some point, sometimes, like with her, like she jokingly said that, like, I have to shut her up sometimes because she can talk a lot, but there was a period of time we were talking, we were going back and forth, and then she started kind of going on through her whole story, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to let her talk, because I want to, at some point, sometimes you got to let people just speak, and sometimes they just want someone to listen. And because I do so much talking as it is, just in my own life and this podcast and everything, and it was just like, and that's how you bond with people, and you figure out, because, we're all going through some sort of pain and trauma. It's just some are more immense and harsher than others. When we first started talking, it was just, I could tell, like, you had been through a lot, and, you're just, some points just really worn out and tired, but, there's still a fighting spirit in there.
Thank you. And I appreciate you listening to my whole story that evening, because I guess I felt I wanted to give you the full background of the challenges for this disorder and the challenges within my family. Yeah. I mentioned that I have my only daughter and my only brother both have autism. So I call myself the ultimate case manager. The case manage 3 people, literally, even though they have great staff and they're in a great program. It gets exhausting for a lot of us with disabilities just to manage our own healthcare issues, appointments. I think you touched on something. You're working to get into a medical center, and it's been what, months of
Yeah,
back and forth.
just constantly dicking me around, and just missing, oh well, you didn't need to really do that, but then beginning they told me I did need to do that, and just months and months go by, you don't hear anything. It's like, oh, don't worry, and then they'll tell you that it's the wrong. It's the other people that need it. It's the lab. They got to send you the paperwork, and then you call the lab, and it's like,
Ugh,
no, we never send paperwork. They're the ones supposed to send it, and just over and over and over, and then you come back to it in the end, and you're like, oh no, we didn't need that at all. You don't need that paper. Just go to the lab and just get some blood work done. It's like, why didn't you tell me that in the first place? And so yeah, it gets
it's
discouraging.
so frustrating. It's so frustrating. I don't know how many times I've heard a story like yours, and even I'm thinking in my experience, um, yeah, you get two people even in the same office of a medical practice telling you two completely different things, and you're like, which one do I do here?
Yeah.
It's like having a disability isn't frustrating enough, and then when you've got, quote unquote, the system adding to that frustration. I mean, that's really crappy.
Yeah, and ours is usually the worst case scenario, but we end up having to go through every basic stage. It's like when you call like tech support for somebody, like for your phone, and the first thing they say is, "Well, did you reset your phone?" It's like, yeah, no shit. Like I've been reset my phone many times
True,
over. Like with us, it's like,
true.
when we have issues, it's like, no, like I always feel like I need the Michael Jordan of doctors for whatever is ailing me, because I'm never, my issues are never basic. They're never just go to the emergency room and here, take some antibiotics and it goes away. And
Right.
for the most part, I mean, there's some things for sure, but I always have to go through more, and whatever that comes with life, and I'm not bitching about it, but it is discouraging when you talk to somebody and they're just kind of like, well, come in and we'll do the typical basic exercises, and deep down it's not going to work, but you don't want to be pessimistic, but
Right.
you want to kind of scratch some of those things off, but then it's like you do that appointment, and then it's like, all right, well, let you do these couple things and I'll see you in 3 months. It's like 3 months, like why? Like, can I see you next week? Because this ain't gonna work. And yeah,
True.
you get left more discouraged going in leaving than you did going in, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. It really really
It
is.
happens a lot, and I'm like, you're in a lot of Facebook groups. I am too, and some of the stories people describe of their medical visit experience are horrific. I mean,
Yeah,
they come in with real symptoms and being told, "Oh, it's just your anxiety," and they're like, "What?
yeah, yeah,
No, you need to do something about this." I think the new term for it is medical gaslighting.
yeah,
Um, it's very unfortunate,
yeah,
and it makes it even more important to do your homework, which is really hard, and find the right specialists that can help. And I I'm grateful for two different groups for that. One is my most used Facebook group for CMT, Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. The other is my group of friends from my aquatic fitness physical therapy class. It's a group fitness.
mm-hmm.
It's adapted. And we are all local here where I am in Maryland. And we can just talk while we're warming up in the pool. Hey, who's your favorite rheumatologist? And I'll get 10 answers. And 4 of the 10 might be the exact same doctor. I'm like, well, bingo. If these ladies who are tough like this person, I'm going there too. So I think doing your homework and then asking for referrals from others with a similar condition, if that exists,
Yeah.
or similar symptoms, is really helpful.
Yeah, and kind of even the beginning of our conversation about me letting you talk. It's like, I don't know how many times, and this could be in the dating world or just random people, friends, whatever, and you share your story and you don't feel like they even give a shit, and you're like, it's
Uh,
not that you're crying but you're somewhat pouring your heart out. You're telling your story, and
right.
it's so frustrating. And then when someone actually does listen and cares, it matters so much, and it translates to any profession, the medical profession, teachers, whoever you interact with that are affecting your daily life, when you always remember the one person or the two people that really went above and beyond their job description and they looked out for you. Like I can give her a shout out, my doctor, a specialist here named Dr. Therasia. She's one of the kindest people I ever met. Her energy. The first day I ever met her, I said to her, I said, hey, like you have like a really good vibe, like a really good aura and energy about you. And she smiled and she gives me a hug after every time I leave because sometimes she gives me not necessarily bad news, but she gives me things that are a little unsettling. Like, hey, this is where your eyes could be
Right.
in some years.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it but she oh boy, it's raining outside. But
Mhm.
she's pushed me in a direction for this specialist in Kentucky. She didn't have to do that. She could have said, "Hey, I can't do it," or "I can do it and I'll screw it up." But she said, "No, here's a doctor that may be able to help you unselfishly." And she constantly cares, and she's actually made personal calls to help me out. And she's an amazing person, and I'll always remember her, even if I never had her again, which I plan on seeing her soon. But if I never had her again, I would always remember her because she's done what she's done for me. Even just when I'm in the office, she makes me feel more calm, and that's what you need more of. You need more. These people go to they go for their schooling, and whatever. It's like it's just a job to them, and it's like no, like when you have a job like
Mhm.
that, you're impacting so many
Mhm.
people. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are just
Mhm.
in and out, in and out. But when you got people like us, like real compassion matters because we are so
Mhm.
we get the constant rigmarole. We get the constant, who's next, and just treating us like just like another client. When deep down we've been through so much, we've been so used and abused, and and just underused and overlooked, and you're tired. You just want someone to give a shit, just a little bit, and
So true.
yeah,
So true. And I think you touched on a really good point there about medical professionals with what I call appropriate and intelligent bedside manner. She sounds like a super caring physician. Um, I have one or two like that too. That before I leave, we give a I get a hug, I get encouragement, and you still get the straight shooter truth from them usually, but they're also like, what else can I do to help you? Or when you ask a question, they're really attentive and they want to give you the right answers. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, again, I did not go to medical school. My education and background is business and finance, but I sometimes wonder if some medical professionals actually get like a 6 hour credit on empathetic listening.
yeah,
I think it's a good question to ask if you ever interview a medical professional, like, okay, how is it that, some are, for lack of a better word, just complete jerks.
yeah,
I can give you an example of a complete jerk if you like.
yeah, sure,
When I was newly diagnosed, well, I went to my primary care first and I said, I'm having trouble climbing stairs. And her eyes got really wide and said, what? And I said, yeah, ever since, I had my daughter a couple of years ago, I have to hold on to railings to climb stairs. And excuse me, she took me out in the hallway and said, go down these, office suite steps. And I went down okay. She goes, okay. She's at the top of the stairs. She goes, come back up and don't hold on to the railings. I said, I can't. She said, try, show me. And I showed her, I tried, and I couldn't. And her face turned white as a ghost,
yeah,
which scared me. So I went up the way I went up, and she says, come back in my office. And she goes, I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to see a neurologist ASAP. And she referred me to a colleague or someone she knew that was in the area who was supposed to be good. I'll tell you, this guy was a jerk,
yeah,
total jerk. He did his test and said, well, it's going to take me a week or so to evaluate these. You can come back next week. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I have to wait a whole week? Like, you can't tell me. Well, he said, we got to wait for your blood work back then. I guess he was doing some genetic blood tests or something. And when I went back, he kind of laid down the fact that I have some sort of unknown neurological peripheral neuropathy, and there's nothing he could do to help me. And he said, there's no reason for you to ever see me again. I was like, excuse me? I said, but I'd like to be evaluated initially, annually, to see how this is progressing. So I ignored him, and I went back to him the next year because I didn't know where else to go. And he gave me the same attitude. Yep, you're about the same. I don't know why you're here. I can't help you. I was like, okay, that's it. And my primary care ended up, she was smart. She's like, you don't need to go to him. She says, you need to go to Johns Hopkins. So that's what I eventually did.
Yeah.
Which
No.
is fabulous facility, a great neurologist. She's the head of neurology there.
Yeah, very well matters. I mean, I can give you two quick examples. I had a nurse, and when I was really sick and nearly dying and everything, there was this guy. I wish I remembered his name. He was a Jamaican guy, very nice, and I always call him Coffee Breath because I always smelled his breath, and he just drank coffee. But he would come in, and I'd be just so much pain. I'd be crying and then he would just kind of like massage my shoulders, and I immediately would just calm down. In like the worst pain, and I always remember that guy because it was just like I remember his his touch, his feeling was just like something about him just made me feel calm. And then I remember on the other like spectrum of it is when probably about a year or two ago I was just in the doctor, and this is not as bad as yours, but it's like one of the techs that are checking you in, and he just asked me questions, and then he's just like, okay, so I need to check the pressure in your eye, and I said you can't. And he just kept grabbing the device and getting close to him. I said, no, you cannot. You actually cannot check the pressure in my eyes. I was telling him that you physically can't do it because there's too much scar tissue. And the more I had to do it, the more I was getting frustrated, and the more it's like, do I have to continue to explain to you that my eyes are so screwed up that you can't? And he was getting mad at me like I was refusing to let him. And finally, he kind of backed off and realized. But I'm like, I had to like say it to him in a kind of a pissy way. It's like, dude, I'm not telling you, I'm not allowing you. I'm telling you that you physically can't. Doctors don't do it anymore because you cannot get the pressure. You're going to waste your time. You're going to sterilize the whole thing, and then you're going to have to clean it off and do it all over again. I'm like, I'm trying to so you don't waste your time. You can't do it. Let's just not waste either of our times. And, again, that's why it's just, but at the same time, at that same place, I had a tech/nurse, whatever they're called, when I was getting a procedure done where I was getting my eyelashes electrocuted, and I could explain that to you another day. She would come in, and I didn't ask her to do it. She just would hold my hand. And it's like, like you remember that kind of stuff. And it's like people,
of course,
it's like you cared. And I didn't ask her to do it. I didn't necessarily need it, but it felt nice. And it was very reassuring. And, hey, you're going to be okay, and we're here for you. And
that's so golden.
Yeah, you really need that.
We do need that. And, speaking of, excuse me, techs or nurses that ask questions before an appointment, sometimes I want to say, because I fill out, a lot of us nowadays on our phones or do like pre-check-in questionnaires.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, they're like asking all the same. I'm like, did you actually read what I wrote? I mean, why are you asking me why I'm using a walker?
Yeah.
Like, do I really have to explain that to you? It's already in the file.
Yeah.
It's like they're adding to your anxiety or frustration over just being at the appointment when if this is the place you've been before, it should be in your file that your eye pressure can't be read.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, why didn't he take the minute? I mean, or like, why doesn't, I don't know why. They just got this cookie cutter approach, and, one size fits all, and you have to do what I say. And, that's where it's like really inconsiderate and frustrating for the patient.
Yeah, we're not their typical cases. And it's like our medical history is probably longer than your whole medical career. At least in the cases of the techs, a lot of them are young, and it's like, no, man, I'm not trying to put you down. I'm not saying you don't know anything, but you don't know me like I know me, and I'm telling you don't bother,
Right.
or I'm telling you I need this and I need that, and especially even like in the beginning when they're asking you all these COVID questions and all these insurance questions, I'll just say, hey, no to all the insurance questions, no to all the COVID questions, because I know they have to do it. I get it, but at the same time, it's like, look, I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to help you out, so you don't have to ask them over and over and over. At least one person will let you, just skip past it, and there you go. Because I mean, especially with the elderly, a lot of the old people I see go in these places and they're just pissy. It's like no, 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 and I'm like, I get it. They got to do their job, but at the same time, I can speed the process up for you. And they get mad, and sometimes some of them are like, oh, thank you, but and again, it's just trying to, because again, I've been through so much shit, and I'm carrying so much weight, and just tired, and just emotionally drained, and who knows what kind of day I'm on. It's kind of like Wheel of Fortune. You just don't know what you're gonna land on the wheel, and I just want common decency and respect, and it's like I'm not asking for much. It's just understand, be a little attentive and understand that I'm going, that I've been through a lot of shit. You can see it right there on my sheet. It's pretty long and there's a lot going on, and it's just like, just understand, try to care a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Sometimes that is very, very lacking. It's nice when, in my situation, because my issues involve, my standing, sitting, grip strength, things, walking, things like that. When a tech or a nurse says, what can I do to help you get on this table?
Yeah.
How does it work best for you? Like, thank you for asking. Here's what we're going to do. When I start saying, step one, lower the table. Step two, I will lean back and, put my butt on it. Step three, you're going to lift my right leg. Step four, you're going to lift my left leg. Help me scooch to the right, and then help me scooch up to the end of the table. And that's it. But some of them are like, oh, no, we're going to do it this way. I'm like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Will you let me show you how this will work? And they're like, oh, okay. Like, almost like they're offended. I'm like, at this point and at this age, I don't care. I've been through enough to say, I'm going to show you how this works, and we're going to save time. And nowadays, I almost always have an aide with me. I find that it's a lot easier for me with an aide personally. I'm not. I don't like my reflexes anymore, so I don't drive long distances. So if it's a doctor's visit that's a little farther than I'm comfortable driving, even then I like having an aide with me. But and I can drive and they can sit in the passenger seat. But sometimes I'll just look at the nurse, the tech, and say, you know what, my aide's got it.
Yeah.
And Beth's going to help me up onto this table. She knows my abilities. Okay. And yet sometimes they're relieved. And I'm relieved knowing that I have someone there who knows how I need and what I need and when I need it. And it does save a lot of, what do I call it, waste of breath to have to, like, every single time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes you get it in your head that there's going to be so much that's going to have to be done, and it becomes very strenuous and overwhelming, and it's like you put this situation in your head to where it's just going to be, it's going to be exhausting. I don't want to have to deal with all this. And then when it actually works out and didn't have, like, I don't know, something small. I actually cut the tip of my thumb off the other day, and not
Ouch.
fun. Yeah, trying to cut an orange
No.
with a stupid accessory I bought from Amazon. I should have just used knives. And anyway,
Ugh.
I went in there and I'm like, oh, I don't want to get stitches. This hurts so bad. I'm bleeding. And I don't want this. And then the woman's like, no, you don't need any of that. Like, I had in my head, I was just like, this is just going to be painful. This is going to be
Yeah.
the worst thing ever. And she's like, no, just put this little thing on, put some, wrap it up in bandages, change it here and there, and boom. And it'll heal, and however when it heals, but just keep an eye on it, and you'll be all right. And it was so relieving, and just, because sometimes you just, you build it up in your head, and because
Yeah.
it usually does go the other way, that you tend to
Right.
kind of, you become pessimistic and you start to think negatively more so than positively, because you're just like, ugh, how much is this going to take off of my life today? Like, it's like, someone brought it up to me on a previous episode about the spoon theory, like how many spoons you get in a day, and
Mhm.
how many spoons am I going to give up for this particular moment, this particular situation? And sometimes you end up giving up half of them just for one part of the day, and then you get home and it's like, yeah, you had a small meal, and you get home and you're just exhausted. You're like, oh, because mentally you're constantly fighting and overthinking, and it's like a hamster wheel. It's just running and running and running, and you tend to not have as much spoons left for the rest of your day. You only have a few to kind of to give out at certain points, and you got to keep it. You got to kind of sprinkle them around, and especially when you have health conditions like ours, it's like, especially someone like you, like, yeah, you it's going to be exhausting, but the best, if you can make my experience as painless as possible, awesome. And not just physically, just
Right.
emotionally.
Right. Yeah. And I love the spoon analogy because uh, we were talking before we started the recording, and I was telling you how I probably used up too many spoons yesterday.
Right.
Didn't save any for today. They usually don't carry over.
Right. Yeah.
But today I'm like, okay, I just need to put my feet up, have a cup of coffee, have my breakfast, whatever I was doing earlier. And I said, yeah, my tremor was a little worse than usual because of just being tired, and now it's starting to lift. But I was like, I had all these plans for the morning, not happening, and you have to find it. It's so hard to adapt and say in your brain, you know what, it's okay. If I can't do this morning or right now, it's okay. I mean, that is so hard when you're a very strong-willed, independent person, right?
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
to say, I've run out of spoons or I'm low on spoons, especially when it's not like in my case, I just overdid it because I like my Sunday fun group, and I usually pay for it a little bit on Mondays. So I was prepared for, but like in your case, in both of our cases, you go to a doctor's appointment, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. You build up anxiety because most of us tend to think the worst at this point because we've been through so much. And when you're pleasantly surprised that it works out well, you get a little bit of a spoon back because just the happiness of it is good. And then, like you said, you come home and you're like, okay, I'm done. I mean, the mental management of having a disability for me, I'm noticing more and more, is a huge part of the deal. It's not just the physical management. You have to do the best you can to stay in a good mindset. And that's hard.
Yeah. Especially because, in our cases it fluctuates, so we don't know what is tomorrow, what's gonna happen, or what's gonna happen in an hour. And I think that's one of the things I've gotten to be able to learn by doing this, is because I made so many friends with different disabilities that, there's been a couple guests that, they couldn't do it on the day they wanted to do it because their condition was acting up, or we got halfway
Mm,
through the show and they're like, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore. Can we do it tomorrow or another day? And I'm like, yeah, like, I understand. Like, I get it.
yeah,
I completely
yeah,
understand. Like, I'm not trying to make this, like, even if you would have canceled today because you weren't feeling it, I would have been fine with it because I have your number. We can get a hold of each other anytime.
right.
It's not a big deal. Like, I'd rather someone feel up to it and feel confident and feel healthier for them than to just force it just because because they're excited to do it, or just because they don't want to renege on a an obligation or anything. No, I get it. So yeah, it's been good to learn that about other people, because I go through it. Sometimes you go through your own shit for so long that you're kind of consumed by that, and you don't think that anyone else is going through it or anyone would understand, but so many people do. uh,
Yes,
it gives you comfort.
yes, yes, it does. I mean, it's bizarre to say that hearing about others' struggles that on some level might be similar to ours actually gives us comfort because it's it's good to know we're not alone.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and in my case, like today, I told you I spent a little too many spoons today. Well, if you said this was going to be a Zoom meeting and it's a video recording, I would have been like, oh, not today, because that means, for me, fix my hair, put on makeup, put on a decent blouse. I mean, I would have been like, oh, that's a lot of activity for me. But having it be a phone call, I'm like, I can just, sit in my favorite recliner and
Right.
have my phone. And I said, that's easy for me. I mean, I'll be a little tired when we're done, but it's not a big deal because I think I'm motivated to spread the word. And I think I don't believe things are an accident. There's no such thing as coincidence. I think I was meant to find you in that group, and we were meant to talk, and I was meant to be on this podcast. So
Yeah, for sure.
it makes me feel good to know that I've done this, and
Yeah.
I can't wait for when the recording comes out that I can, share it and spread the word.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't think I put too much thought into what the podcast was going to be for the most part, but I realized it's kind of taking it back to the essence of how it used to be, where we can just have a phone conversation, and I realize like so many disabilities can be affected. Because like I would rather probably do a video podcast because people can see it and you get a vision of what people look like, and I don't know, just it gives you more of a visual, but at the same
Yeah,
time, as a person, I know so many people that just like whether epileptic or people with all kind of chronic pain or different things. Some people just don't want to get dressed. People just want to lay in their comfort zone and they don't really want to get dressed. They don't want to get put on makeup. Or not that I would expect that, but especially as a girl, girls would like to do that kind of things, and you want to kind of
yeah.
look your best.
Unfortunately, we do.
And then with a
And I mean,
disability, yeah,
yep,
yeah, with the
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, there's days when it's easier, there's days when it's not, and later this afternoon, my 8 is coming, and we're going to go out, so I got to do something to my appearance, but
right,
which is, I won't do a whole lot, and I'll have her assistance. My biggest issue physically dressing is my hip flexors are very shot, so lifting my knees in a seated position is very, very difficult. So that's where I need like changing from like putting on pants, changing pajama pants into regular pants, just something as simple. I need assistance, but otherwise I can do pretty much everything else. I realized, last year after I had the first COVID that I was losing that ability, and I'm really grateful that I found some wonderful, wonderful people to help. Otherwise, I'd be really up the creek. But I guess what I was trying to say is, on any given day, if I had enough, let's say, advance notice that this was going to be a video thing, I
mm-hmm.
would have said, okay, you're going to have to take it easy on Sunday because Monday you've got a video interview.
Yeah,
But knowing that eventually it was a phone call, and like you said, if we had to postpone it, we could. I was like, okay, that's cool. And I thought, you know what? I'm feeling fine for a phone call. Let's do this. Let's get it done. Let's see, what comes out of it and see how many people hear it, and let's get the information out.
yeah, and I think especially visual, like a video aspect of it can, you don't know what we look like. Now we might be on we might share our platforms or social media and things, so you may get to see us at some point. But like I have had a few people on with Tourette's and dwarfism and these different conditions where it's like you can see them ticking or see how short they are or whatever. And it's like now
Mm-hmm.
you can get an image of what you think we look like, but at the end of the day, like we sound normal to you, and treat us
Right.
that way. Don't treat us on the same playing level that everyone else is on. And when you get a visual, sometimes people look at it like, oh no, I don't want that. No, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's
It's just
off-putting to
so,
my eyes or whatever. And so,
oh,
and yeah, and again,
people like that are just, they're jerks. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just not
yeah,
appropriate.
no, I know. But I mean, that's I've always been so keen on having great representation in our community because, it's not that I'm not, I'm against people who have learning disabilities, and I've had a few on, but not that I'm against people who, are a little worse off than us, but it's just like because so many of us are perceived to be slow, and we're
Mm,
weak and all these different things. I want you to see all our strengths, and then when you get to know us, then you get to see us, and it's like, oh, okay, you seem like pretty normal, other than the fact that you got a vision problem, or you have trouble walking. It's like, yeah,
right.
tried to tell you that. It's just, but again, for the same people that I might not have on, because of maybe they're in a place of life sucks, disability is the worst thing ever. I get that feeling. I completely understand, and I've been there. But I don't want them on
Yeah,
because
me
I don't
too.
want that to be a person. I don't want a person hearing this and going, "Oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. I should just kill myself," or I should
Yeah, oh
just lay
no.
here and be even
Yeah,
sadder than I am because that person just read my
yeah.
mind. And yes, they're right. Having a disability or being homeless or any of these things, that is the worst case scenario, and I don't have anything to live for. Like, I don't want that. And and that's, but again, like, I want to show the similarities not only in people, but just how different we are, or how similar we are with all these different conditions, because people tend to look at it. I bring it up all the time with the logo. Our logo is a guy in a wheelchair, but probably the majority of us aren't even in wheelchairs, so we're defined by a stick figure in a wheelchair, but it doesn't really define the community at all, because so many of us don't have a wheelchair. There's
That
people.
is a really good observation.
Yeah, but
That
then
is a really good observation. Yeah, I mean, everybody who's got a disability doesn't necessarily use a wheelchair.
no, and I think that's why so many people push back to it and are just like separating themselves from the community, where you hear deaf people say like, "Oh, no, we just speak a different language," or some people will go in these directions. It's like, "No, we're just the chronic pain people. We're the deaf people. We're this." And, we are all together. I think that's the problem. We need to come together and actually unite and join and show how similar we are, but then also then break off and go, okay, see, look, I am a paraplegic. I am a person, a cancer survivor or whatever, and I look how different I am at the same time. You look at me as that person over there, like that stupid character, that stick figure in a wheelchair, but I don't have a wheelchair, and he has a wheelchair. We have similarities, and we don't. But that doesn't make us any
Right.
lesser than that person or any better than that person. And
Yeah, I think there, like you said, there's an assumption that I noticed when I started to go from cane to walker and walker to occasional wheelchair, with my aide pushing it on a bad day, that some people assume that because you're in a wheelchair, you're not that bright upstairs in the head. I'm like, wait a minute.
yeah,
I have a graduate degree. I'm not gloating here. I'm just saying that it's really, really shocking how they just start talking to you as if you're an infant.
yeah. Hello
And I'm like,
there, miss in the wheelchair. It's
yeah,
like,
I know. It's so degrading and it's so stupid.
yeah,
Um, my heart goes out to, and there's been a couple occasions where, I've said to my aides, we're going to park as close as possible, and I'm going to use the walker on this appointment because I'm meeting this particular specialist for the first time. I want them to see me at my highest capacity of movement. And if I have to pay for it later, I'll pay for it later because I need to feel like I'm at eye level, when I'm speaking to him or her.
yeah,
And a few times that's been really, really helpful. I've had these very high level discussions with certain specialists about my condition, and they're surprised how much I know about my own condition, or how much what they would ask me, very detailed questions about, the type of peripheral neuropathy I have. And I'm not going to go too much into it, but there's, in our case, it's either axonal or demyelinating. So I'd say, well, mine's axonal. You understand that, correct? He goes, oh, yes. Okay, good. You know that. Okay, yeah, good. It's, yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to prove ourselves to be like intelligent self advocates.
yeah. And because so many things, so many of us have like a visual that lets you, that, gives them some sort of perception, like the wheelchair or a cane or a dog or crutches or whatever. There's so many different accessories that are added to us. And, people think, because I get it all the time, that, oh, you don't look blind because I don't have the dark glasses or whatever, unless they're designer glasses. But people like they just see these things and it's like, oh, that's like a huge reminder of like, oh, they're messed up. And it's like, yeah, man, okay, we get that, we have problems, but we're fucking people. Like I don't get how that I
Thank
don't
you.
I don't know how that doesn't change anything. And yes, there are people who do have slow, like they're slow and they have mental problems, and I get it. But that they're people too. Like it's just, but at the same time, why don't you figure out what someone is first before, like, if I'm sitting there chewing on my hand, and again, it could be, I shouldn't even say it because people have different ticks and things, but there are ways to find out. But if you go up to somebody and just ask them, hey, how you doing? You all right? Like, yeah, I'm good. Like sometimes it's just nice to have a good communication with somebody because most people avoid us. They don't want to talk to us because in some ways it feels like you're afraid of us because you don't want to be around someone who's perceived to be broken, and you don't want to, like, it's almost like if we touch you, it's like how some people when AIDS first came out, people thought like, oh my god, if I even hug
Oh
a person with
yeah,
HIV,
yeah.
like they'll get it. It's like
Right.
you can't hug us and get our disability. Like, okay, like that's not how this
Exactly.
shit works. It doesn't work that way. I mean, yes,
Right.
COVID maybe, but you can't just become disabled. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's just a huge reminder to people. I think people sometimes are just afraid to look our direction because it's like, oh man, I feel so bad for them, but I hope this doesn't happen to me. It's the same thing I've always said with the people who are homeless. People don't want to look at them. They don't want to help them out because it's like, oh God, like I hope I don't become homeless. God forbid I make a couple bad payments on my house and oh man, it's like, yeah, but you should be fortunate, be happy that you have these amenities, and it's okay to just talk to someone. Like I've gone up to people that are disabled or people that are in lesser, less fortunate than me, and I'll try to strike up a conversation and like if they're homeless or there's someone out there who's got a bucket and they want a little change. Do I officially know where this money's going? No, I really, really do not. But you know what? Like, I have enough money where I can give a little money out to someone, even if it's $1. Just say, here you go, man. Like, you're out here in the 90-degree weather and you're sweating your ass off trying to just make a little money so you can, have something to eat and drink and maybe even a place to stay. Like, what am I?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I agree with you. It's like you and I were talking about how I worked with a homelessness agency as one of my clients, and it was a huge eye opener. I mean, that can happen to anyone in a minute. Um, you don't know. Someone gets very sick and things start to spiral, and before they know it, they're on the street. That old, not my favorite thing to say, but there, but for the grace of God go I. Um, at some point when you have a disability, I think if you don't start leaning to the side of some sort of gratitude, you're going to lose your mind. You have to say, yep, I'm having a bad day today or a good day today, but I'm going to do the best I can to have, a good full life, as best to my ability, right?
Sure.
And not, live in that dark place in my head for very long. I can't remember which celebrity or someone. Oh no, it was a chiropractor I used to see, and she said sometimes with depression you have to live in the basement, literally, like in your brain.
Yeah.
But she said you're not going to decorate it and move in there.
Mm.
I like that. She's like, you're not going to decorate it and move in there. That's a temporary space where your mind needs to be. And then you're going to go back, the analogy, upstairs where there's more light and whatever, No offense to people who live in basements.
Right,
I
right.
mean,
No, it's
you
there. And you got to know it's there too. It's like
right.
you got to be aware of
You
it.
have to be aware, right? You have to be aware of it and realize, okay, this isn't good today. I'm going to pull myself out of it one way or another.
Yeah.
Whether it's, finding some comedy to watch on your iPad or phone or
Yeah.
distraction is huge for me. I need distraction.
Yeah.
I need to process emotions, but I also need distraction.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there's times you can laugh at that too, like your inner demons, because sometimes
Hmm.
you're just sitting there, and again, sometimes it can be very upsetting as well. But you can,
Right.
many times I'm just sitting here watching in my recliner, watching something on Netflix or whatever, and my mind will just go to a place of, hey, yeah, yeah, your eyes look weird. And it's like, yeah, no shit, really? Okay, see you later. Like it's just like adios, back to the show.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep. There you go.
like
That's what that's like the whole concept of being in the present moment, which is another cliche people use, but it really does make a difference. Stay in the present moment. Try not to look backwards too much. Try not to look forwards too much because you're missing out on what's going on right in front of you.
yeah. I tell my head all the time, like, you're using old techniques that used to work on me. That doesn't really work on me anymore, sir. Like, I've been through that shit. If you're gonna make fun of my eyes, good luck. It's like, it's like, comics will tell you, like, if you're just like let's say you're an overweight guy, you go in a room and just go, yeah, hey, I'm fat. Like, what is someone gonna make fun of you for being fat? Like, okay, the punchline isn't gonna hit as hard now because you have addressed the elephant in the room. No pun intended there. But you get it. Like, I'm fat. Okay, cool. Boom. You want to keep making fun of me? Go ahead. But I know I'm fat and I'm working on it. But it doesn't work on me. And so it's like, yeah, my inner demons try sometimes. And again, sometimes they succeed and they get underneath my skin and they find real things. But you got to try to stay ahead of it as much as you can because it's constantly throwing shit at you. And sometimes sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it's there. You got to recognize it. It's not ever. I don't think for people like us, I don't think it ever 100% will ever go away. I just don't. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing,
Yeah.
but I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever will because we've been through too much, and
Mhm.
you can get better, you can become much stronger, and you can become happier, and you can be more equipped to battle those struggles, but I don't think it ever officially goes away because there's people that have way more things than we have, and they still deal with
This
it.
is true.
So,
This is true. And
there's,
and you're right. It never completely goes away, but I think coping skills are really important.
yeah,
What do you do to cope with it? I not to get too much into the subject of depression, but
no,
I
you're fine.
myself and I know people who've like, well, COVID came and we're not going anywhere. Why do I need all this fancy clothes? And like the Goodwills are overflowing.
Yeah.
People are like, I'm never going to be able to do this, that, or the other again. Um, my aide is texting me. Sorry, I'm still with you.
No, you're fine.
I'm just saying, come on in quietly. um, anyway, now some friends and I are like, well, this is kind of the new normal of the world, of our bodies. I deserve a new t-shirt this month. I deserve, a new blouse or, if I can afford it. Why
Yeah.
am I just kind of reveling in feeling kind of crappy when I can feel good about myself again? That's to me personally, that makes all the difference.
Yeah, it's just trying to keep those happy, giddy moments just like sustainable for a long period of time because sometimes we get glimpses of
Right.
it, and
Right.
it's whatever it is. And I joke with my grandma because she's like, "Oh, you buy too many shoes," and I'm like, "Grandma, look, it's either this or cocaine, okay? Like,
I
I don't
love that.
I don't do
That's
drugs. I
really
don't
good.
I don't drink.
Yeah.
I have no real vices for the most part. I have an addictive personality, but I avoid pretty much any of that. And and it's like, yeah, I buy some of these things. Do they ultimately cure my happiness? Hell no. Absolutely. Like, do they cure my ailments and make me happy? No, absolutely not. But, they do help. It's nice to know a package is outside my door. Like my cat, he gives me,
Oh yeah.
he makes
Yeah,
me
I get
happy.
that.
So,
Like I used to have this when I could wear all kinds of shoes. Now I have to wear shoes that I can literally walk in comfortably and not fall down. But I had this huge shoe collection and it was my thing. Now it's like, oh, what technology can I get or what can I buy to make my life easier for myself and my aides or maybe just a new handbag or something simple. But you're right. We got to do what makes us happy. And guess what? A lot of people have big shoe collections,
yeah. Yeah.
so why are you any different just because you have a vision impairment?
Yeah. Again, I'm open to whatever makes anyone happy. Like when I think some of the 420 marijuana like culture has just gotten out of hand because it's just like, all right, we get it. It's nauseating. But if it makes you happy, like whatever makes you happy. I mean, I wouldn't promote certain things, but it's like, if cocaine makes you happy, it makes you happy. I wouldn't suggest someone
Right,
I love do it, but it's like,
right,
I can't tell someone how to make it through their life because everybody needs an escape. And yes, some escapes are more dangerous than others. Some are, better to deal with. But, however it is, like I have a friend who I love dearly, Tommy, who smokes, and I want him to stop smoking so bad because I hear the cough in his lungs, and it's like, dude, I love you. Like, stop smoking. But I understand it. Like, he's
yeah,
also been through some things, and he deals with stress. And so I understand it helps. It's just as a person who cares about him, I want him around for a long period of time. But like
right,
I said, but I also do understand the escape. I just never got into drugs or alcohol or smoking cigarettes,
right,
so it's never been my escape. But I
right.
do understand it. I do understand why people go in different directions because it's you
Yeah,
know
yeah, you're right. People, not just with disabilities, but a lot of people, especially, I think this is a subject for another podcast with someone else, but you and I were talking about the pandemic has isolated so many people. And I kept thinking, woe is me, I'm so isolated. And then I talked to the term able bodied isn't my favorite, but my able bodied friends are like, you think we're not isolated too?
yeah
You think we're not, doing what we used to do either? Oh, no, we're not. It's kind of more than just, but it impacts us with disabilities so much more, you know.
yeah
But um, TJ, this has been a huge source of encouragement for me, and it's been my honor to be your guest.
for sure, absolutely.
Unfortunately, I need to literally get moving,
No, you're fine.
and I will catch up with you soon, I hope. And again, thank you.
Yeah, is there anything you want to
I'll let you
promote?
do your closing. What?
Is there anything you would like to promote, like a website or yeah?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you. If someone wants to learn more about Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, they can go to CMT, which is like Cat, Mary, Tom, USA .org. That's where you can find a lot of information about this disorder. There's also the same organization runs a very lively, I think, 20,000 plus member Facebook group. It's been a huge source of support for me. And if you want to learn more about me, I don't know if you put links in your podcast
Yeah, I do.
comments,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
you know how to spell my first and last name. I won't go through it here because it's a little difficult because
Yeah, I'll put it in.
parents were Turkish immigrants, but idasandver.com is another way people can reach me if they want to.
Yeah.
But thanks for asking because I meant to talk about CMT USA and the great work they do.
Yeah. And one more thing before
Really
you
good work.
one more thing before you
Sure.
go. Can you just talk just a little bit about your daughter and your brother as far as autism goes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All three of us have been through very detailed genetic testing, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. We've all been tested multiple times over the years. My brother is in his early 50s, my younger brother, and he's a little bit more on the, I would say, moderate to higher functioning side.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter is very bright but minimally verbal, but communicates.
Yeah.
She's a little bit more on the behaviorally difficult side.
Right.
But, they're the loves of my life. And I said this years ago, God gave me two angels to watch over, and that's my duty. And I'm not doing it alone. I have friends, and they have great caretakers. They're in a great agency here in Maryland. So yeah, thank you for asking. But knock on wood, they're doing well. But things happen,
Yeah.
and
I
there
just didn't
goes
want
my
to.
stress level.
I just didn't want to skip over them because they deserve a little shine and.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, thank you. I wasn't sure if we had a lot of time to go into autism, but autism is a spectrum disorder, I'll say very briefly that there's some television shows that are very popular that show extremely high functioning people as doctors and other professions. I want to make a point that that is very rare. Um, Most individuals with autism don't function at that level.
Yeah.
It's a spectrum disorder, but yeah, I think I've told you I'm a huge fan of TikTok now, and TikTok to me is a lot of real life, human personal stories. Mothers with their young autistic children at home and how they have to care for them, and it's I've done it. It's a struggle. My TikTok presence. I can mention that too. I'm trying to grow my following. I'm going to do more content on CMT awareness, and then I do some silly things just because not everything can be serious in life. It's you can find me at symbol GR, like the word green. I'll say that green, IE greenie 0906. So that's kind of my handle on TikTok.
Yep.
I'd
awesome.
appreciate listeners looking me up and giving me a shout out if they heard this, so I can give you that feedback that, hey, somebody said I heard you on the podcast, and that would be really awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. She got
And
me to.
lots of spoonies on TikTok. Lots.
Yeah.
We call ourselves spoonies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she got me to join it, so I just got on there, so I have one follower, but I'll play around with it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I did add you earlier, so you'll have to add me back, but
Thank you. Yeah, when I'm done with my appointments for the day, I'll do the same. I'll find you and I'll do the same.
but yeah, no, again, I do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Take care of your health.
My pleasure.
And do what you got to do, but no matter what, we're always going to be friends now, so if you need anything, I'm around.
Hey, that's for sure. That's for sure. You find good people, you hold them close.
Yep, you have to.
That's true.
Keep them close.
Yep.
All right, sweetie,
Yep.
you go do what you got to do.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. You were awesome in terms of being an interviewer and having the banter back and forth. It was really a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. We'll do it again sometime, but in general,
we shall.
We'll, like I said, just text me whenever I'm around.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Another one of my friends coming on the show. Hope you enjoy. But yeah, I am on TikTok. I think it's just at My Blurred Opinion, I think. I'll have to look. I'm pretty sure it's at My Blurred Opinion. I don't even know if I came up with a name or just implemented it because it's also hooked up to my Instagram and Facebook and things. So I don't know how it did that. I'll have to look. But yes, there's only like one picture and one video up right now. So I haven't done much at all. Maybe by the time you hear this, maybe I'll be a big sensation. We'll see. Probably not, but you never know. But Leto was here for a little bit. But then he's like, I'm out of here. I ain't doing 2 of these today. So, yeah. Just looking around to see if I can see him, but nah, I don't think he's in the bedroom somewhere. But yeah, guys, thank you for being on this journey with me. I really do. Like, I'm very grateful for all you guys who support, even the people who don't know me and the ones who do. Are equally important. So, just trying to do some good in this stupid, crazy, dark world we live in. It's yeah, it can be very rough and discouraging, but there's some good that's still going on here, and so be one of those people, be that light that we need, and we'll get through it together. Hopefully, we just stick together. That's what we need. More camaraderie. But thanks, guys, for being with me. Thank you for supporting our guests, and thank you for just listening. And you need someone to talk to, reach out. I'm not hard to find. See you. I don't know if anybody knows. I don't know if I ever said it. So my full name is James, but Timothy James West. Timothy West. A lot of times you'll see me as Timothy J. West on Facebook. Like, reach out, because I just say my name's TJ, and a lot of people, TJ is hard to find. But yeah, I'm out here. please reach out. I will get back to you. If I don't right away, please don't take it as anything, that I don't want to talk to you. It's just life catches up to you sometimes. So, yeah. I'll see you guys around and see you guys next week. All right, guys. Bye. To the bye.